Hey guys, it's Sam the Statman, coming at you with another video. Today I'm going to be ranking every player from the 2011, 2012, and 2014 Hall of Fame classes from worst to best. This is another one of my Hall of Fame ranking videos. I'm doing these three classes today because two players were elected by the baseball Raiders in 2011, one in 2012. In 2013, a few players were elected by committees, but not by the baseball Raiders, and 3 in 2014, so that's 6 players who I'm going to rank on one list. Before we start, I'd just like to remind you to like this video if you enjoy it. Also, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy all my videos, and turn on the bell to get notifications on all my videos. Also, comment down below if you have any ideas for anything I could do in the future. That's all I have to say. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 6 is Roberto Alomar. Roberto Alomar was a good player, and he's one of these players who's like the worst on the list, but is a Hall of Famer, does deserve to be in there. In his career, Roberto Alomar batted 300, 371, 443 with a 116 OPS plus. He had 2,724 hits, 210 home runs, stole 474 bases, and had 67 WAR. In his career, he was a 12-time All-Star, won 10 Gold Gloves, won 4 Silver Sluggers, won the ALCS MVP, won the All-Star MVP, a good player. I mean, I'd say he belongs in the Hall of Fame, definitely, but just the worst on this list. Number 5 is Barry Larkin. In his career, Barry Larkin batted 295, 371, 444 with a 116 OPS plus, which is actually really close to Roberto Alomar's. Roberto Alomar had a 300 average compared to Larkin's 295, same on base at 371, and his slugging percentage of 443 is just one lower than Larkin's 444, and their OPS plus is the same at 116. It's really interesting. Okay, but back to talking about Barry Larkin. In his career, he had 2,340 hits, 198 home runs, stole 379 bases, and had 70.5 WAR. In his career, he won the MVP. Okay, there we go. I can talk again. The MVP was a 12-time All-Star, won 3 Gold Gloves, and won 9 Silver Sluggers. Number 4 is the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas. He was a very good player, as in his career he batted 301, 419, 555 with a 156 OPS plus. He had 2,468 hits, 521 home runs, and 73.8 WAR. In his career, he was a 2-time MVP, was a 5-time All-Star, won 4 Silver Sluggers, and won a batting title. I'd say because he was a DH, he did not get defensive value. I mentioned in the previous video, DHs don't get defensive value. They lose defensive value, I think. They lose defensive value. And I think if he hadn't been a DH, this is sort of the case I think it was like with Paul Molitor maybe. If he hadn't been a DH, he probably would be ranked higher on this list because he would get some defensive value. If he was like okay at defense, he'd be, even a first baseman gets less negative defensive value. I think that makes sense, right? Less negative defensive value, gets less runs cut from their what I'm trying to say is, being a first baseman gives you more value defensively than being a DH. So if he'd just been an okay defense first baseman, he might have had more WAR and might be higher up on this list. But because he was a DH, he's lower on this list. Of course, being a first baseman or a position player might have caused several other things, including worse offense, could have gotten injured, but you know what I mean. Number 3 is Tom Glavine. In his career, Tom Glavine went 305 and 203 with a 3.54 ERA and a 118 ERA plus. He had in 4,413 and 1/3 innings pitched, he struck out 2,607 batters. He had a 1.314 WHIP and 80.7 WAR. In his career, he won 2 Cy Youngs, was a 10-time All-Star, won 4 Silver Sluggers, and won the World Series MVP. In second place is Bert Blyleven. Bert Blyleven was a fantastic player, as in his career, he went 287 and 250 with a 3.31 ERA and a 118 ERA plus. In 4,970 innings pitched, he struck out 3,701 batters. He had a 1.198 WHIP and 94.5 WAR. In his career, he was a 2-time All-Star. An interesting thing is that it took Bert Blyleven, I'm not sure the exact number of years. It was 10 or something like that amount of years, maybe even more, because there used to be 15 years of Hall of Fame eligibility. But he took a ton of years to get into the Hall of Fame, which doesn't really make sense considering he is like 95 WAR basically. He's one of the best pitchers ever, you could probably say. Like, could make a case he's like top 20 pitchers of all time. I think he probably is. It's so weird that he took so long to be elected. The reason is probably his win-loss record. It was 287 and 250, which is not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. And also, win-loss records really don't matter that much. At least in my book, they don't. A lot of people back then used to take win-loss records really seriously, and even some people today still do. And I'm not a fan of that, and I think a lot of people aren't, because wins and losses depend on how your team does, not just you. I mean, okay, you could pitch a terrible game, of course, and you might get credited with a win, but you could also pitch an incredible game and get credited with a loss. So it's really like, that's not a great stat, but a lot of people think it is. Used to think it is, and still do. So that's why it took him years to get elected. However, with like the statistical revolution, he got elected eventually, which I'm happy about because he definitely deserves to be in there. And finally, number 1 is Greg Maddux. In his career, Greg Maddux went 355 and 227 with a 3.16 ERA and a 1.32 ERA plus. In 5,008 and 1/3 innings pitched, he struck out 3,371 batters. He had a 1.143 WHIP and 106.6 WAR. In his career, he was a 4-time Cy Young, won 8 All-Star. Well, was an 8-time All-Star. I mean, why do I keep saying 8 All-Stars? I don't know. He was an 8-time All-Star, won 18 Gold Gloves, 18. Wow, that's a lot. And 4 ERA titles. Fantastic player. I don't think much explanation is needed, so I put him at number 1. Blyleven is good. All the players on this list were really good, but I just thought Greg Maddux is definitely the number 1. I do hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I hope you guys enjoy all of my Hall of Fame videos and all of my videos in general. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. Stay safe. Bye!